Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And we've done the normal battles. It's now time to do the boss battles for the Protector of Peace Jubilee, the newly revamped Tempest Heroes Jubilee. It's nice and consolidated into just one row of things. There's no flipping back and forth. There's no tickets anymore. It's just raw stamina, and it's all 5, which is honestly pretty good. I like this change. I'm going to talk about what I do and do not like about this in a different video. But today, Boss Battle 1, the AoE stage, which is going to be really fun or really not fun, depending on who you are. So it starts with a special convert for greens, so we have a lot of characters that can do that nowadays. Of course, Geld, if you build a Protector of Peace team, can do it automatically. Trya, Wind Lumi, Dark Milim, a lot of people can do that. And then the stage has a few different quirks. Not as many as Boss Battle 2, though, but that's later today's video. So Clayman, magic resistance for the entire fight for everybody. Seal's Pierce. Synergy resistance, which lasts until the end of the fight, so no bringing Momiji. And then also hard nerfs Vengeance by sealing body and spirit skills turn 1. So, sorry. You can attempt to use Vengeance. I didn't record a video because I didn't record a clip of it because I didn't want to, but I'm sure there's people who are. Milim, guard rate, counterattack rate, guard penetration, okay, fine, whatever. And then Frey nerfs blues into the ground and lowers our attack on regular intervals. So there's not that much to go through as far as the enemies are concerned. It's just the number of viable teams is quite low, because water is not in a super great spot right now, and they haven't been for a while. But let's just go ahead and get started. Alright, first team, obviously the full meta, Masayuki, Shion, Geld, Hinata, Rimuru, and Overlord Shizu. There are not very many replacements for any of these characters, but also it's not my most favorite team to run. We are running with skill point units, Lumi and Soe up front. This gives us 42 skill points starting out, which means we can use both of Geld's Orb Change and his green buff turn 1. It gets us a lot of points and gets us started on that long journey of maxing out. And then we've got Shizu with Milim underneath. I do have a dupe in Hinata, so between these 3 characters, we will get extra protection gauge every 2 turns. And we definitely need that, because we are not bringing a traditional green gauge buffer. Geld is only giving us skill points, so we don't have like Veldora or Isis. You could totally run them if you don't have one of these options, but we're going to be lacking in the protection gauge department, which is quite unfortunate. We're also going to go at hyperspeed, because there's no reason we need to sit here for any more time than we need to. There's 15 minutes in this clip? Holy crap. That doesn't sound right. Nope, it totally is right. So turn 1, we'll use Geld's Orb Change and the green buff. Boom, boom. And now begins the long process of flipping units in literally every single other turn, because on turn 2, turn 4, turn 6, turn 8, I want Shizu and Hinata up front to give us protection gauge, but also I want Shion to get her EX ult, which means that we're going to have to naturally RNG our way into a lot of Shion orbs. Hinata, because she's not type advantage, she generally will not be in for very much. She's not going to get a lot of stacks from Masayuki's Inspire skill, so we don't really need to worry about her all that much. If you can get an ult or an EX ult for her, then great, that'll definitely help your damage, but you should really be shooting for Rimuru and Shion. So now, this is turn 2, we've used, the protection traits have kicked in, so now we swap them out. And now we just need to get Shion orbs. Lots of Shion orbs. And we need to make sure that every single turn we are using the multi-hit from Hinata, the follow-up orbs from Shion, because this gives us the 36% attack buff per turn with Masayuki. And that's going to be really, really impactful for our total damage output. We do have the ability to use skills more than once in a turn, which you might need depending on your luck. If you get like a 1 green hand or something and no ults, your run is dead. If you get, 3 oranges and 2 blues and a green, your run is pretty much dead. Yes, technically you could get out of it by using literally all of your skills, but that's taking away from the other buffs that you're going to need to really enhance your damage. And at that point, you just reset. So this is turn 3, and we're going to go into turn 4 after this. So we're going to bring Hinata in. We'll use the skill reset, use the multi-hit, use the orb change, use the green buff. This will give us full 6 hands. And then we'll take Geld out for Shizu. And now we have Hinata, Shizu up front when turn 4 kicks. Also the alt swap. So we get, again, a lot of protection gauge. Because you see, we're not quite there yet. We're a little bit shy. But with their traits kicking in, we will actually get a protector. And it's pretty important to have a protector every turn to reset and allow you to use multiple skills in a turn in case things don't really go your way. But this is essentially what we're doing for the entire fight. Is multi-hit, follow-up, orb change, green buff, and swapping in and out, in and out, in and out. So I'm not going to hold you hostage for the entire time. We're just going to cut ahead a little bit to, alright, turn 7 here. So we are going to get the EX ult for Xion here, which is great. We have the EX ult already for Rimuru, and all we've done is, like I've said, stack, use skills, flip them in and out. You just need really good luck to get a lot of Xion orbs, because there are a lot of runs I've done in this stage where I only get Rimuru's EX ult, and everyone else has an ult. And that's purely because Rimuru doesn't move. Rimuru never gets swapped, because this is the AoE stage. We need him to get the maximum stacks. So here, final nuke turn. Decent hand. We get a super counter, but unfortunately it's with Shizu, who does not get anything really here. So now, EX ult for Rimuru, EX ult for Xion. We'll use the Shizu buff now. And then we have an ult for Hinata in the back. It's not an EX, but it's better than nothing. And now we have to decide what I want to do as far as points are concerned. I need to use 300 to make sure Hinata's skill gets the full maximum 100% crit resistance down value. So I need to do a little bit of some math here to make sure the skills I am using will get us to that 300 while still being able to use Hinata's skill. So let me cut ahead real fast. Okay, so I've used Masayuki. We've reset a little bit to make Geld's orb change a little bit cheaper. We're going to bring Hinata in now. And now we have 3 ults. And we have enough points to use the single orb change, Rimuru buff, and then the Xion buff. And that will give us a full 6 hand and put us at the 300 cap to where we now get the maximum power from Hinata. The only thing that would make this turn better is obviously an EX ult for Hinata, and maybe the multi-hits and the follow-up orbs from Xion, but those are expensive, so this is the best I can get out of this right now. So if we go ahead and send it, I'm just making sure everything is in line. Rimuru does... Oh, too fast. Let me slow it down. Okay. Rimuru does... After we wait a little bit. More than a little bit. Alright, so he does 11 million on Milim and Frey, because they don't have the extra weakness resistance down that Geld is putting on. We put it all on Clayman. So we do 13.6 million against him, because he has that, and we actually hit a natural pierce, which is cool. It does help our damage out a bit. Hinata's single target, non-EX ult. She does 1 million. Okay, fine, whatever. And then Xion, with her crit damage and her water buff and all that, she's going to do 11.7 million damage right there. So overall, a pretty good showing from the meta. 50 million right there, and then we add on the extra orbs, 360, almost 500k, and then Xion's final hit does 1 million. That's pretty good right there. Puts us at 52-2, which is currently my highest score. So that's the meta team. I know we cut out a lot of it, but you didn't need to sit here for 15 minutes and watch it. So let's take a look at the score really fast. 52-2, damage received, 569k. Pretty good. Let's move on to the not-so-great teams. Alright, we've got a half, quote-unquote, meta team in case you got really lucky on your Koban or your free tickets and you managed to pull Rimuru and Masayuki at least, and you didn't summon for Xion, and you didn't summon for Hinata. So we have Geld, we have Octagram Lumi, who is double skill fuse. She's going to give a lot of damage to our AoE nukers. The light masked hero, very old character, also featured on the banner, along with Wind Shizu. So this team is still like a complete meta, basically, minus Lumi. But it's definitely not the brand's shiny new characters who are debatably useful. But it's going to run essentially the exact same way, just much more difficult because we have a single alt-swapping character now instead of a triple alt-swapper. So we've got Geld and the hero in slot 1 and 2, which means that we can still use his orb change. We're not running the skill point units, though. We're just running the normal protection gauge, so we cannot use his skill point buff turn 1. It's fine. I did that on purpose. We're going to leave Autogram Lumi up front for the first 2 turns to get the extra protection gauge off of her, and then we're going to just continue on. You need fairly okay luck here to make things work. So this hand, I mean, I'm not in love with, but we do have another single orb changer in Shizu, so we can make that work, use Rimuru, bring Geld in now, and then use his green buff, reset, use his orb change, because everyone up front is Protector of Peace, and then that gives us enough points to use his orb change and either another green buff or an attack stack from Shizu, which is only going to affect her and the hero, which is kind of unfortunate. I really thought it hit Rimuru as well, but oh well. He doesn't get that. He's getting a lot of attack from Protector Masayuki, just we could always get more. But now we already have an alt for Wind Shizu, and I really don't want to start alt swapping yet, so we're going to just send it. Because Autogram Lumi is double skill fused, her AoE buff gives 50% extra alt gauge on every orb, so we're not really in danger of missing EX alts this early into the fight, and I don't want to start alt swapping now and make our alt swap just horribly expensive by the end of it, so we're just going to send it. We're just going to get it out of the way, we can make it back by turn 8, and we just move on with our lives. So here, we've reset. They are attack nerfed as well, so, I mean, we're not going to get a lot of damage out of it, but it'll be certainly something. So we do use the Geld orb change. Do we actually do that? No, we're already getting the gauge increase, so we can use the Rimuru buff for the extra weakness strike here. And then, again, this is just continuing on and on. There's, I would say, less swapping between units necessary for this team versus the full meta, because we don't have so many different skills that we need to activate every single time to get maximum value. It's just who has orbs, who doesn't, and who needs alt gauge. So we sent that alt, we didn't really do that much damage. Now Rimuru has an alt, and I'm pretty sure I send that here too, because again, I don't really want to hold on to it. So orb change, we don't have to use Rimuru's convert anymore. And I think we use Masayuki to reset. Oh, no, we don't reset Geld. Dangerous play there. But now we're going to start buffing with Lumi. So we'll use the AoE buff. We need to use 3 of those, which, if she's been reset by Masayuki, is very cheap. And then we'll reset her. We'll use the alt buff, I believe. And then we'll bring the Masked Hero in. And, okay, another stack of the AoE buff. Okay, good. So that's 2 in a turn. Or, oh, we do all 3. We do all 3 in one single turn, so we don't have to use the AoE buff any further. We just need to use a few stacks of the alt buff now. But here, we will, okay, we hold on to the alt. Good to know. So, this is the team. We've used half of the Lumi skills already. That's great. We're working on getting EX alts for Rimuru. We've got an alt for the hero. But now we run into the problem of we're going to get a lot of alts very quickly. The good thing about this is that since we're not running a big-time nuking team, we don't have to have the 400 skill points available to us on turn 8, right? We only have one big-time buff, and that's Rimuru. Everything else is rather small or has been stacking up and we've already used it. So we're not as tight on points as we normally would be. As long as we can get the full stacks, and as long as we can at least get full hands of greens every single turn, we're going to be okay. Which means that in certain scenarios, you can afford to use the alt swap 1, 2, or even 3 times in a turn, because you're most likely going to make it all back anyways. So alt buff, and then the single orb change with Rimuru because it's a blue orb, and I cannot use Shizu for it. This will very much get his EX alt. We'll take Lumi out of here. We'll use the Geld buff, even though it's 55 points. But again, like, we're going to be okay. We're going to make a lot of it back. And then we just kind of move on. So let's go on to the nuke turn. Right here. And now we have the EX alt for Shizu, a normal alt for the hero, and an EX alt for Rimuru, and a bunch of Shizu orbs, which are unfortunately nerfed blues right now. But because we have points, it doesn't really matter. So we'll use the resistance down, the orb damage buff. We'll use Masayuki to reset everything. And then we've already capped out on the Lumi buffs, right? We use the 3 stacks of the AoE buff in that one singular turn, and we're now capped out on the alt damage. So everybody's getting 80% alt. Rimuru is getting 80 plus another 150. And because we have the points, we can just use his single alt or single orb change and make all 3 of those blues into greens, which gives them the damage buff and gives him extra weakness strike. And then we can use whatever points we have left over to stack the attack from Shizu on both the hero and Shizu herself. So here, we do 267 with the hero, 817 with Shizu, and 1.6 million with Rimuru. So definitely not 52 million damage. It's only 8, but it's still better than nothing. So there is the quote-unquote half-meta team. If you have to run this, I'm sorry, but at least you'll be better than the other couple teams I've got to show you. Alright, World of Fantasy rerun currently going on. It's not a good team. It's a burst team. Not built for a truly stacking meta, but we're going to use it anyway, because they do have a physical nuker, Milim. She's single target, but she's physical and she's water, and we are getting the extra damage buff against fire enemies by using Frey. So we've got, again, Shizu and the hero, because this is their original team, and then Milim. Isis for the green buff, so we could kind of keep this train going, and then Fount of Wisdom Rimuru for the physical buff and the AoE debuff. It's kind of rough, I'm not going to lie to you, but if it's what you got, because all you have are old EX characters, then I guess it's what you got. So turn 1, we actually can convert, and we want to convert with both skills, because both Shizu and Milim have a single orb change. We're not running skill points, so we can't use 3 skills here, but Milim and Shizu come in, and then we use 1 orb change, 2 orb change. The whole gimmick with Milim is that you want to use as many skills as humanly possible in the first 4 turns of the fight, because that's how you get extra crit damage. The more skills you use, the more crit damage you get, and then after turn 4, you just stop stacking, so it doesn't matter. So we really have to rush using a literal butt-ton of skills in any way, shape, or form in the first 4 turns. So the Isis Orb change, we don't need it, but we're going to use it. The green buff, we do need that. We'll use the orange convert again here. Okay, and maybe. Yes, maybe. Okay, we use the attack stack for both Milim and Shizu, because they're going to be our primary damage dealers, quote-unquote. And then we'll use Frey, who changes that orange, gives us 70 points, so technically we should have used another couple skills there, but it is what it is, we'll let it fly. But now we're capped out at 100 points, we have another Frey, we have an ult for the hero, not the hero, but Shizu and Milim. So we'll bring the hero in, we will orb change, boom, boom, and then we're just going to send. We're not going to use Frey, we're going to hold on to that. And now, I believe this is going to be turn 4 coming up, and this is the last turn we can use skills, and that's why I wanted a double Protector Milim, because we might have to do some janky things with Fount of Wisdom Rimuru, depending on if we actually do that. Okay, no we don't. So, alt swap away, that's cool. We want to get Milim's EX alt. We'll bring Isis in. We'll use the green buff again to keep it going. And then we'll bring Fount of Wisdom Rimuru in, and we'll use the... I thought I was going to use his orb change, but I guess not. Okay. This went a lot differently than what I remember it doing. Oh well. Alright, so that's the final orb change. That is the final stack that we're going to get with Milim for her crit damage before we just cap out. And now we just wait, essentially. We're going to hold onto Milim's ult, If we get her EX ult, then we could start using the hero to ult swap Shizu and try and get her EX ult instead. And then we'll try and get a few more attack stacks from Shizu here and there. So let's go ahead and skip ahead. Okay, final turn. Looks like we're not going to get a Shizu EX ult, but we're going to get a hero ult. And then we have Rimuru in the back, or not Rimuru, but we have Milim in the back with an EX ult ready to go. So, unfortunately, I have our 3 buffing characters up front, so one of them has to go away. And that someone is going to be the masked hero, because she's gotten the least amount of stacks. So we'll use her debuff, we'll bring Milim in for her, and then we will use the crit buff, so 58% crit damage is what Milim has, after using all those skills in the first couple of turns. And now, the Fount of Wisdom Rimuru buff for 80 points, and then we'll go ahead and nuke Shizu. Yeah, we don't have any more points to do anything. So, Shizu, almost, a million right there, 634k, and yeah, it's really sad damage. We pierced there naturally, that's cool. So we're up to 2.3 million, with a burst green team that technically does get extra damage against fire enemies. So, it's not great. It's a very old EX team, full of old characters, but if it's what you got, it's what you got. Alright, and the final sad team I have for you is being led by the old water Chloe Protector, who is technically a stacking protector for greens. What she does is she raises your skill cap by 40, she changes all orange orbs to green, and she gives you a 40% ult buff for 3 turns. Quite a long time. So we're going to run the new free-to-play guild, so we can get a lot of skill points. We're going to run free-to-play Isis, because we want the gauge so we can use a lot of stacks of Chloe. And then we got free-to-play Trya for more greens. And then we're going to nuke, quote-unquote, with Old Water Xion and then Fount of Wisdom Rimuru. Rimuru being physical, he's water, he's got the physical buff. Xion has the water buff, the guaranteed crits, and the crit resistance down will help Rimuru do, quote-unquote, okay amounts of damage, but certainly nothing to write home about. And then Trya will take care of any really blue orbs is what we're looking for. We have 3 orb changers on this team, so as long as we have Chloe, we don't need to worry about oranges at all. And you might have to reset turn 2 to get a good hand of, like, 1 blue or just a few blues. You definitely don't want a lot of blue orbs on this team, though. The good thing about bringing Trya, and you don't have to bring Trya, you could bring really any other converter, you could bring Wind Lumi. If you have to, you can bring first anniversary Milim, but her ult buff is overlapping with Chloe's. Hers is higher, which is nice, but we've already got an ult buff here. But I guess more damage would help. We are running the skill point units, so we can use both the Isis buff and Trya's orb change turn 1 to get a full hand of greens. And then here, we have 2 blues, but we also have Isis. Or we can use Trya, it doesn't matter. But we're going to use Isis. And then we don't need to worry about the orange orbs, because Chloe's going to change them. So we'll use Geld's skill point buff and the weakness strike, which does help Rimuru do more damage. And then we'll just go ahead and send everything, and we just stack for 8 turns like this. There's not a lot of switching out. As long as you have not a lot of blue orbs, you'll be fine. So here we have 1. So again, we could use Isis, we could use Trya. They do get expensive because we don't have a skill reset. We also don't have an ult swapping character, which means that if you want to get the EX ult for Rimuru, you're gonna have to leave him up front and send 5 green orbs and pray you get enough by the end of the fight to get his EX ult. Which is not ideal, but it is something that you can do. But we're not going to worry about that because we have 6 more turns, and we're just going to send it anyways. So 20k, ooh, good damage right there. We are attack nerfed, but oh well. Alright, so here it's not super great. We have 3 blue orbs. You are going to run into this, and this is why we have both Geld and Trya pretty much permanently in the back. So we could bring them in for whoever has the orbs that we don't want. So we'll use Trya to boom, and boom, convert all the blues, and then we can use Chloe, again, to change the remaining orange orb. We'll use the Isis buff again because it's worn off, or it will run off next turn. And then we'll bring Geld in, which I should have taken Geld out or brought him in for Trya, but it doesn't really matter because we would have changed the orb regardless. But it's better if Trya just is always in the back, so we can use her personal orb change most effectively. And now we have, we're working towards an EX alt with Rimuru, and now begins the very fun prospect of trying to get natural hands of Rimuru orbs to get his EX alt, and which means not sending everything that you have available. So Geld orb change, do that. Alright, cool. We'll bring Xion in, we'll try and get an alt for her. We have a couple orbs there that we're going to use Trya to do, and then we'll go ahead and just send, I think, these 5 orbs. We'll put Trya back into the back, and we'll send 5. And now we just need to pray that in the next 3 turns we get more Rimuru orbs to get his alt, which we're going to do the really slow, old-fashioned way. If you can get a Xion alt along the way, that's great. But that also means now you have 2 alts that you have no way to convert. Really hampers the deal. So here, with the Isis ult, we're just going to send it because we don't need it. And now as long as we can get, I think, 2 Rimuru orbs, we'll be okay for his EX ult. And we do. We might have actually been able to get away with 1 orb. But we're also not sending full hands of green, so we're not getting the maximum gauge increase that we would normally get. So we'll use Chloe one last time. Her ult buff lasts for 3 turns, so you don't need to worry about it at all, especially since you've been using her the entire fight. But this does get us the Xion ult. It gives us the Rimuru ult, and hilariously enough, we have no green or orange orbs. So yeah, we're kind of fucked there. So physical buff, both of Xion's buffs does help out pretty much everybody. And then we don't need to use Chloe because we already have the alt buff going. And we'll just send all 6. 291. Geld does 35k and Xion 72,000. So 1.3 million damage. Certainly not 52. It is still an S rank though, which is the important part. It is still an S rank in the actual fight itself. And if you have to use lesser units for this, like if you don't have Fount of Wisdom Rimuru and you only have Xion and maybe like Shuna or Hinata from the old water meta, that's also something that you can use as well. But that is the, let's see here, I'll cut back. This is the breakdown right there. 1.3 million, 57.5k total score. So there's 4 teams you can use for Boss Battle 1. I'm sure exists a lot more that you can use of varying degrees of usefulness. If you use something different, please put it down in the comments below so other people can check it out. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.